I would like to just share a bit about myself and how I ended up here standing on the stage today in a very beautiful suit with no shoes on. I'm from Nova Scotia, a small town, and I was a very difficult child. And I talked a lot, and people started asking me to leave things all the time. I got asked to leave school a lot, I got suspended a lot, and then I got expelled from school 3 times. It was really difficult. And when I was a little boy, my mom died in a car accident. That was tragic, and I was really angry at God every day. And I never knew what to do with this anger. And it would grip me, and I would do really dumb things. And then I started drinking alcohol, and I drank a lot of alcohol, and I developed a drinking problem. And nothing worked because everyone just told me, like, oh, don't be angry and don't drink. And that never helped. And then on January 19th, 2002 in Halifax, I went to see Sri Ravi Shankar speak in Halifax. And he walked in the door, and the first thing I did was look for the exits. Because I was like, where am I? What is this? What's happening? And then he said, what would you like to talk about? And no one said anything, and he didn't say anything. And then a couple minutes later, was like, what do you want to talk about? And no one said anything, so he just sat there, and I said, this is really funny. And then he said, what do you want to talk? I'm not going to say anything until someone says something. And someone said, talk about love and marriage and forgiveness and all these things. And then one man really, really yelled. He's like, what's wrong with the world today? And Guruji goes, He goes, I'll tell you. He goes, 3 women. And I was like, what? I was like, does he not understand the language? What is he doing? This is really bad. There's media present. He's going to be in trouble. This is not good. And then he said, misuse, miseducation, and misunderstanding. And then we meditated, and it was the most beautiful 20 minutes of my life. And I took the program the next week, and I actually, this is a true story, I lived on the same street for 6 months as Krishanji and Bharti. So to go to satsang, I had to open my door, walk 5 street houses down, and I'd go sit at satsang, and then I'd get up and I'd walk back. But it was only for 6 months. So I got to learn how to breathe, Kriya, Sudarshan Kriya. I got to learn meditation, satsang, and all the courses I took for the first 2 years were with Krishanji or Bhartiji. And I didn't know there was other teachers in the art of living until I went to India, and I was like, oh, it's not just the Vermas. It's true, actually. It's pretty funny. So I got sober. I've been sober for 13 years because of Guruji. I'm not angry about my mom being dead anymore. I'm able to deal with that. I was able to accept that. Now, you can ask the people on the Seva team, I still get angry about other things, but it's not about my mother being dead. But, when I tell this story, there's so many things that are so beautiful that I've been given. And that's what I like to focus on. Like, I'm from a real small town in Nova Scotia, in eastern Canada. And I didn't grow up, I didn't know people from other cultures. And now I've been to Haiti with a UN envoy. And I'll never forget, I was in a UN envoy because of Guruji. It was amazing. And on the same trip, this is a true story. I do exaggerate when I tell stories, but this is true. I was in Haiti in the poorest slum in the Western Hemisphere, which is called Sit Soleil. So one day I was there, and these people have nothing, literally nothing. And the next day, I was at a woman's house, a lady's house in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, and I ate off a gold plate. The plate was made of gold, and I was like, how that's opposite values are complementary in like 24 hours. And I've had some really amazing experiences with teaching. I was on a First Nation reserve in Alberta teaching the last year, and we were teaching, and Shreya, who's in reception, we were teaching together, and we did the first session, and the children were like walking around and talking and rolling around and while we're teaching, and she's like, I don't know if they're getting the message. And I'm like, no, they're fine, they're getting it. And then the next day she's like, I really don't think they're getting it. And then the third day, the same thing. So we were there for 6 weeks, and on the 4th week, one of the girls went to her counselor and told her that on Saturday night, she was at a party, and people were being very mean to her, and she was going to commit suicide. But because she learned the breathing techniques, she did the breathing techniques, and she didn't commit suicide. So that was an amazing teaching experience for me. And then with Guruji, I thought of the funniest thing I could think of that he's ever done with me. And there's been a lot of funny things he's done. And one day, if you haven't been here before, there's a raft over here. It looks like a swan. You're all going to want to go on this with Guruji. So we were on the swan one night, and there was about 6 of us, and it was cloudy. And Guruji said, Mark, I said, yes, Guruji. He said, I need you to manifest the moon. And I was like, okay, he's just playing around, and just sat at the back of the boat, I was paddling, and then he said, 10 minutes later, he's like, Mark, the moon's not there yet. And I was like, I don't know how to manifest the moon. And then like 10 minutes later, he was like, Mark, and I was like, yeah, Guruji, I know, the moon isn't there, but I don't know what to do. And he's like, well, and then I just sat there and I was like praying, and sweat was rolling down my face, and I was like, I don't know what to do. How do I make the moon come out? I really don't remember that on my Part 1 course. And then we were sitting there, we're coming back in, and he looks up, and for like 4 seconds, the clouds all parted, and the moon came out, and he goes, oh, Mark. And I was like, that's pretty funny. It happened. And so there's all the different aspects of with Guruji. And the last thing I'd like to say is every morning since I took the Part 1 course in Halifax at Christian G's house, I've prayed every morning, and then I was introduced to the promise 2004, I think, or 2005. And so I say it most days to myself, so I just thought I'd finish with that, because I kind of thought that was the best way to encompass my experience. And the promise, if you haven't read it before, you can get it. It's at the Divine Shop. And so I can't promise that you'll always be comfortable. So anyone else know it? I can't promise that you'll always be comfortable, because comfort brings boredom and discomfort. I can't promise all your desires will be fulfilled, because desires, whether fulfilled or unfulfilled, bring frustration. I can't promise there'll always be good times, because it is the rough times that make us appreciate joy. I can't promise that you'll be rich or famous or powerful, because they can all be pathways to misery. I can't promise that we'll always be together, because it's separation that makes togetherness so wonderful. Yet, if you're willing to walk with me, if you're willing to value love over everything else, I promise this will be the most rich and fulfilling life possible. I promise your life will be an eternal celebration. I promise you I'll cherish you more than a king cherishes his crown, and I'll love you more than a mother loves her newborn. If you're willing to walk into my arms, if you're willing to live in my heart, you'll find the one you have waited for forever. You'll meet yourself in my arms. I promise. Take it.